In this video, we're going to look how identities come together with potential and then transform into something new. So for example, the apple, the identity of the apple is contained in the seed, the DNA. The seed is placed into the soil. The soil provides all the potential for the apple seed to transform in something new, which is the apple tree. And we're going to use this as an example also for other areas. For example, when you have a state and a people, how do they come together? They come together into a democracy, but also a meaning which contains an identity. When it comes together with an appearance, for example, here the roses, it becomes a symbol, and the symbol unites a meaning with an appearance. Also, you can apply it to, for example, order and chaos. When they come together, something new emerges. And also tradition, which contains an identity from a long time ago, comes together with innovation, which wants to try something new. It comes together in the contemporary. So these are just a few examples where two opposites come together. The identity merges with the potential and then transforms into something new. In other words, how opposites unite. So we're going to look at the apple example in some more depth. And we see the apple is on top and the soil, which is the potential, which contains all the nutrients, is at the bottom. But the apple identity, the seeds, the DNA, they can't stay there. They have to engage. So what they do is they spiral downwards in the form of a triangle or a cone, spiral downwards, looking for the potential. They can't stay upward. And in the same way, the soil spirals upward, looking for an identity. So it offers potential, nutrients, but it needs the seed. And the seed is planted in the middle. That's where the upper and the lower area meet. And something new emerges, which is, of course, the apple tree. And what is an apple tree? An apple tree is like a seed that creates roots. So you can see the roots, they spiral downwards into the soil, looking for the nutrients. So that is how the identity, the DNA of the apple seed enters the area of the soil. And the nutrients, they are absorbed by the roots and they don't stay there. They spiral upwards and you get the crown of the apple. And what you got here is the nutrients that come from the soil, from the lower areas, and they rise upwards into the upper areas towards the identity of the apple, because you get new apples, carry on new seeds, providing a way to get new apple trees, new seeds. So when two opposites meet, the identity successfully meets the potential, the soil, you get a new thing, and the identity is in the potential and the potential is in the identity. Or in other words, the apple seed is in the soil and the nutrients of the soil are in the identity. You can see the apple tree. But you can also see like these gray areas at the sides. And these gray areas, those are the shadows, the margins. So for example, at the left of the identity triangle, there is this semicircle in which the identity doesn't come. At the same at the right. So what happens over there in the shadows? Now, for example, when the apple seed goes downwards, it spirals downwards, but it doesn't engage with the potential of the soil. What you get is, for example, a rotten apple. A rotten apple is an erasing of the identity of the apple because it failed to meet the soil in the middle. But in the same way, an apple can also be used to create an apple pie. It's another way of not engaging of the apple seed with the soil. And in this case, it transforms into something else, which is an apple pie. And when this apple pie or this rotten apple, when they move inward to the potential triangle of the soil, they can't do anything there. You can't put a rotten apple in the soil or put an apple pie in the soil. They don't merge, they clash. The proper way for the apple to engage with the soil is not through the way of becoming rotten and then engage with the soil, or become an apple pie and then engage with the soil. No, the proper way is to not go through the margins, but to go through the center and meet the potential, the soil, the nutrients in the middle. In the same way, when the soil doesn't go through the center, but spirals into the shadows of the apple seed, of the blue triangle, it enters the shadows and it becomes, for example, a jungle. So a jungle is the potential of the soil without engaging with the identity of the apple tree, but engaging with everything else except apple trees. And what you get is everything else except apple trees, which is a jungle. In the same way, the soil can fail to engage with the apple seed and goes through the right margin and becomes a desert. So now all the potential, all the nutrients, they are gone. And in the same way, the rotten apple and the apple pie can't engage directly with the potential. In the same way, the jungle and the desert can't engage with the apple seed. They are a threat to the identity of the apple seed. If the apple seed encounters the jungle or the desert before it can reach the center and engage in the proper way with the soil, it becomes a threat. The jungle overgrows the apple seed and the desert will kill the apple seed. So the proper way for two opposites to merge, to meet each other, is through the center, spiraling down, meeting in the center, creating an apple tree. So this is a very basic example, but we're now going to apply it to some other interesting areas. So we're now going to look at how a state and people can meet together in the middle of and form a democracy. So we're now going to look at the state and the people, how they come together in the middle to form a democracy. And we're going to do that at the end of the example of the apple. So we see that all the potential of the nutrients, the soil, you can compare it with the people. They are all the potential, all the diversity, the multiplicity, and they spiral upward in order to find an identity. And the identity is contained into the state. It has all the laws, all the structures that say the flag, all the things that combine and unite the people into one single state. And in the middle, they meet and form a democracy. Now, what happens in the middle, just as the apple seed in the middle, some things start to spiral downward and some things start to spiral upward. So let's look at that. And we see that when the state merges in the middle, so people going to vote, then what we get is, for example, a right-wing party. It's a party that represents the state, like the order, the identity towards the people. And it can engage with the people in the form of what the party represents. And then upward, you get the more left-wing parties. So the left-wing parties, they represent the people towards the state in the form of a party. So the people don't go to the state themselves, but they meet in the middle, form a democracy, form a party, and then being represented to the state in the form of political parties, the more left-wing parties. Now, what happens if the state fails to engage with the people? In the same way, the apple seed fails to engage, so the blue triangle fails to engage with the brown, the lower triangle. What happens? You go into the margins of the brown, the potential triangle, and what you get there is, for example, totalitarianism. So this is a failure to engage with the people. It's just the state explaining itself downward without engaging and just telling it is as it is. Or it fails to engage with the people in another way and it becomes like a dream, a utopia. So something that only exists as a vision in the imagination. Now you can see if the state tries to engage with the people through utopias or totalitarianism, it's leading to a clash. In the same way, the rotten apple and the apple pie can't engage with the nutrients anymore. So the proper way for the state to engage with the people is through the center, not through the margins. And the same thing happens at the other side. If the people don't engage with the state through the middle, through the center, but through the margins, so the edges of the brown triangle, for example, they transform into anarchy. So we still got the people in anarchy, but it has failed to engage with the state. Or at the other end, socialism. So we're gonna look after everybody. Everybody is included. Everybody is equal. Everybody got a place. It's diverse. It's inclusive, but it isn't represented. It isn't engaged with the state. So if socialism or anarchy try to engage directly with the state, you get a clash. It enters through the margins without properly engaging in the middle, in the center, in the democracy. So you can compare that with, for example, a jungle, very diverse, or a desert, very empty. Uh, they can't engage it isn't the proper way for the potential to unite with the identity. In the same way, all the potential of the people, if they try to engage with the state through socialism or anarchy, they don't unite properly. If you want to unite properly, you have to do it through the democracy, get a left wing and a right wing parties, and that is how something new emerges, the democracy. So we now explained the state and the people unifying, and also the apple and the soil. Let's look at the third one, how meaning and appearance come together in a symbol. So we're now going to look how attention merges with matter to form in the middle a symbol. So what is attention? Attention is like a consciousness, an identity that is focused. You can focus on everything, so you have to focus through this blue triangle spiraling downwards in order to find the matter. And the identity determines where you're focused on, what you want to look for. It's value based. You don't look for everything. You don't want to focus on every photon that enters your eye. You are looking for something. And in the middle, you meet with the matter because the matter is just there. It provides all the potential. It spirals upwards. It offers itself, but not everything get noticed by the attention. But the things that does get noticed, they merge in the middle and they form symbols. So symbols are the proper merging way through the center of the conscious attention that spirals downwards and the matter that presents itself spiraling upwards. Now what happens in this way, like the roots, the DNA of the apple seeds enter the area of the potential of the soil, of the nutrients, in the same way, the attention spirals downwards and bestows the matter with meaning. So, for example, the roses, they are a symbol of love. So now the material of that constitute the roses, they getting bestowed with meaning by the attention. So the attention, the consciousness engages into the area of the potential. And in the same way, the matter spirals upwards towards the attention. So we call that an appearance because we don't engage with the matter directly. We only engage with them through the form of appearances. So what happens if the identity doesn't engage with the material worlds? Now, for example, you can get memory. So memory is like a collection of past meaning. So things that meant something to you, matter that appear to you, and you bestowed it with meaning, you only can put your attention in the present, in the now, so you can only engage with appearances that are in the present. But if you don't engage with them, then you can still engage with the past meanings which you have stored into memory. And at the same place you have imagination. So you can use your identity, your attention, and place your attention without engaging with the appearances of the material world in the here and the now, and go into the place of the imagination. Now, imagination and memory, they can't engage with the material world directly. In the same way, a rotten apple and an apple pie can't engage with the nutrients directly. It isn't the proper route. If you want to connect the material world with your meaning, with your identity, you have to do that in the here and the now. That is where the symbols are. You can look at them here and now and engage with them here and now. But you can still envision future ones using your imagination, or think about past ones, past meaning through memory. In the same way, we have matter that doesn't engage with the focus of attention. So for example, material that doesn't get noticed can be seen as a puzzle. So a puzzle, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but it's something that hasn't come into the light of the attention yet. And in the same thing, you can have monsters. So I'm not speaking about literal monsters, of course. I'm talking about material that isn't noticed yet by the conscious being, but can form a potential threat to that identity. So it can be a monster. And when the monster or the puzzles try to engage directly with the attention, they go to the blue upper triangle, then you get a clash because the attention wants to be focused to the here and the now, the symbols in the middle, the things that appear to them with meaning. And then if they get disturbed by, for example, a puzzle that enters through the margins out of the shadows and want to engage in this place, then you get a clash. And the same thing is true with materials that fail to engage through the center and are like monsters to the consciousness. If they go through the margins and enter the attention, they are a threat. They are not properly merged and not becoming a symbol. Now we looked at three examples of the apple, the state, and the meaning coming together with the potential of the people, the soil, and the appearances, forming democracies, trees, and symbols. But now let's look at a totally different example, because identity doesn't always come from above and the potential doesn't come always from below. For example, when you have a sailing ship, when you have a sailing ship, the potential actually comes from the wind. The wind carries the potential to blow the ship to another place, to wherever it wants to go. So this is where all the potential comes from. The sail is basically a harvester of potential, of wind, of energy to go somewhere else. And then the identity, in this case, comes from below. It's in the keel. It's the thing that keeps the ship upright, so it doesn't get blown over by the wind. It keeps the ship functioning as a ship, so therefore it contains the identity of the ship. Now let's look at this upside down version of the merging of the potential and the identity in the example of the ship. So here you see it, and now the sail, you have to compare it with the soil. The soil provides all the potential, all the nutrients for the apple tree. In the same way, the sail provides all the potential of harvesting the power of the wind to go to some new place. And the apple seed, which contains the DNA, the identity of the apple, you can compare it now with the bottom, the keel of the ship that keeps the ship functioning as a ship. Now they merge in the middle, forming a sailing ship. But what happens if the keel doesn't go through the center, but instead go through the margins, doesn't properly engage with the potential of the wind, of the sail, but becomes like a very large keel, way too big. The keel wants to be so focused on stabilizing the ship, it becomes way too big. Then what you get is a ship that is stuck. The keel has done his job way too good, and the sail, the wind isn't present in this picture anymore. And also when the keel makes itself very small, you go through the right margins with a very small keel. Yeah, it fails to stabilize the identity of the ships, and the ship turns upside down. So the proper way for the keel to engage with the sail is through the center. because if it's too big, the ship doesn't function as a ship anymore. If it's too small, the ship also doesn't function as a ship anymore. They have to go through the middle. In the same way, the sail, if it doesn't go through the center and merge with the keel, if the sail says, I don't want the keel, I get annoyed by this heavy thing that keeps me stuck every time, then what you get, for example, is a rowing boat. A rowing boat is something that where the sail is sacrificed, so you don't got a sail anymore. So then you also don't need a keel anymore. You just get a rowing boat. So in this example, the identity of the sail is completely removed. In the same way, the identity of the apple is completely removed by the rotten apple. And also, when the sail becomes too big, you get a kite. It basically disconnects from the rest of the ship, and it is so focused on harvesting the wind that it's just going to harvest the wind and doesn't engage with the keel anymore. So it doesn't function as a sailing ship anymore. So these were a few examples of how opposites unite, and the main takeaway is that you can unite properly through the center, and then the identity and the potential merge in a proper way, and you get a new thing. Or you can stay in the margins, and then all kind of clashes emerge. I hope you had fun watching this video.